Welcome to Learning Without Limits, everyone. I'm Jennifer Lopez, and today we're diving deep into a question that I honestly believe every educator, every school leader, every parent even, should be asking themselves. What happens when we teach science or mathematics without creativity? It's a fundamental query, because often we see schools naturally silo these STEM subjects from the arts. We're teaching technical skills which are absolutely crucial, but sometimes we're leaving out the imagination, the creative problem solving, that truly human-centered thinking that makes learning come alive. We're here to challenge that approach, to explore how integrated STEAM learning can genuinely transform our classrooms, supercharge student engagement, and crucially, prepare our learners for the incredibly complex, interdisciplinary demands of the modern world. And with us today, to help us unpack all of this, is Dr. James Cham. James, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Jennifer, thank you for having me. It's a topic I'm incredibly passionate about, and you've hit the nail on the head. The reality is that true meaningful learning demands STEAM integration. Our students aren't just future engineers or coders or mathematicians. They're going to be thinkers, creators, innovators in every field imaginable. When we intentionally embed creativity, design thinking, and artistic expression into what are traditionally seen as technical subjects, the transformation is palpable. Students retain knowledge longer, they engage with the material on a much deeper level, and perhaps most importantly, they develop those highly relevant, real-world problem-solving skills that employers are constantly looking for.
That's so true, James. I've always felt that the A in STEAM isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a non-negotiable. It's the engine, really, for critical thinking. When you talk about true integration, what does that look like in practice? Because I think for a lot of educators listening, they might be thinking, okay, I agree in theory, but how do I actually do this in my classroom?
That's an excellent point, Jennifer. True integration goes beyond just adding a craft project to a science lesson. It requires intentional projects where disciplines aren't just coexisting but truly converging. Think cross-disciplinary collaboration among teachers, deliberate reflection by students on their processes, and critically, creating a safe space for failure. That's where real learning happens. I've seen students design wearable devices that solve specific community health problems, blending programming with textile design, user experience, and even ethical considerations. Or projects where they're presenting community solutions, using data analysis alongside visual storytelling and persuasive communication. It's about making learning human-centered and transformative, not just about memorizing facts or formulas.
Wearable devices and community solutions, those sound incredible. It's not just about what they're learning, but how they're applying it and the impact they can have. But let's be honest, there are obstacles. Huge obstacles in many schools. Everything from curriculum design to budget constraints, lack of professional development, even just the sheer inertia of this is how we've always done it. What do you see as the biggest hurdles for schools trying to embrace meaningful STEAM integration?
Absolutely, Jennifer. Those are all significant hurdles. I'd say the biggest overarching obstacle is often a systemic one, the entrenched silo mentality. Our educational system has historically separated subjects, creating these distinct buckets. Teachers are often trained in one discipline, their curriculum is designed around that discipline, and standardized tests reinforce that separation. So asking a science teacher to collaborate deeply with an art teacher, or a math teacher to integrate design thinking, can feel like an overwhelming request without proper support. There's also the challenge of time, fitting everything into an already packed schedule, and as you mentioned, resources. It takes more than just a 3D printer, it takes a shift in pedagogical approach and ongoing professional learning.
The silo mentality is so real. I remember in school, it was always this is math class, this is art class, never the twain shall meet. How do we even begin to chip away at that, especially when teachers are already feeling stretched thin with so many demands on their plate?
My message to educators, administrators, and really anyone involved is simple. Start small, iterate, and build momentum. You don't need to revolutionize the entire school overnight. Perhaps it's one collaborative project between two teachers in different departments. Maybe it's an after-school club that brings these ideas to life. The key is to demonstrate success no matter how small, and let that success be the catalyst. We also need to support teachers with targeted professional development that isn't just a one-off workshop, but ongoing coaching and opportunities for peer collaboration. And critically, we need to shift how we measure success, moving beyond just test scores to authentic outcomes, student portfolios, project presentations, innovative solutions to real problems. That's where the true learning happens.
That's such practical advice. Start small, iterate, measure success authentically. It sounds less daunting when you frame it that way. You mentioned authentic outcomes. Can you give us another example of a project where you've seen this kind of true integration and authentic outcome truly shine?
Certainly. One project that always comes to mind involved middle schoolers addressing local environmental issues. They started by collecting data on water quality in a nearby stream, classic science and data analysis. But then, they used art and design principles to visualize that data in compelling ways, creating infographics, short animated films, and even public sculptures made from recycled materials to raise awareness. They had to understand the science, interpret the data mathematically, but then communicate it persuasively and aesthetically, using storytelling and visual design. The outcome wasn't just a report, it was a public awareness campaign that genuinely impacted their community. They even presented their findings to the local city council, which required public speaking and persuasive writing, elements often considered English or civics. It was a beautiful blend.
Wow, that's not just learning, that's active citizenship. It sounds like these students are developing skills that go so far beyond any single subject. What impact does this kind of learning have on the students themselves? Beyond just the academic outcomes, what about their personal development, their engagement with school?
The impact on students is profound, Jennifer. Firstly, engagement skyrockets. When learning is relevant, hands-on, and allows for personal expression, students are naturally more curious and motivated. They're not just passive recipients of information, they're active participants in constructing knowledge. Secondly, it fosters critical thinking and problem-solving. They learn to approach challenges from multiple angles, to iterate, to troubleshoot, and to persist when things don't work the first time. It builds resilience. Thirdly, collaboration and communication skills are honed through these interdisciplinary projects, which are absolutely vital for success in any future career. And perhaps most importantly, it ignites a sense of purpose and creativity. Students see themselves as creators, as problem solvers, as individuals who can make a difference. That confidence is invaluable.
It sounds like you're talking about fostering not just smart students, but well-rounded, confident, capable human beings. And that, I think, is the ultimate goal of education, isn't it? So for our listeners, particularly those who are educators themselves, what's one key piece of advice you'd give them about igniting that curiosity, creativity, and purpose in their own learners, starting today?
My advice would be to embrace inquiry-based learning and project-based learning. Shift from being the sage on the stage to the guide on the side. Present students with open-ended challenges or real-world problems that don't have a single right answer. Encourage them to ask questions, to experiment, to design their own solutions. Give them choice and voice in their projects. And remember, the A in STEAM isn't just about art history or painting. It's about aesthetic appeal, design thinking, communication, storytelling, and empathy. When you infuse that into every subject, you'll see students light up. Just try one small project, one integrated lesson, and observe the magic that unfolds.
The guide on the side. I love that. And making it about open-ended challenges where students can truly explore and express themselves. That sounds like a powerful way to break down those barriers we talked about. Dr. James Cham, this has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you for sharing your expertise and passion with us.
My pleasure, Jennifer. I truly believe that by embracing STEAM, we're not just teaching subjects, we're empowering the next generation to innovate, create, and thrive in a world that desperately needs their ingenuity.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners, I want you to reflect on those questions we posed at the top of the show. What obstacles exist in your school for meaningful STEAM integration? And how might you start breaking down those barriers, even just a small one, today? Whether it's connecting with a colleague from a different department, or simply reframing a lesson to include an artistic or design element, every step counts. Let's ignite that curiosity, creativity, and purpose in every learner. Thank you for joining us on Learning Without Limits. We'll catch you next time.